You think you are the architect of your own life, don't you? You believe, with a faith as pathetic as it is profound, that the choices you make are your own. That the thoughts flickering behind your eyes are original sparks struck from the flint of your unique soul. You mistake the script you were handed at birth for a declaration of independence. You mistake your chains for jewelry. A magnificent, tragic, beautifully decorated puppet, dancing on strings you refuse to see. And the name of the puppeteer? It is not God. It is not fate. It is the quiet, insistent, soul-crushing whisper of expectation. You have heard of this phenomenon, of course. You have given it a sterile, academic little name to cage it, to defang it. You call it the Rosenthal Effect, a quaint psychological curiosity, a footnote for business seminars and teacher training workshops. You fools! You utter, spectacular fools! You have named a hurricane a slight breeze. You have labeled a plague a common cold. You have looked upon the face of the abyss that swallows worlds, and you have called it a cognitive bias. This is not a bias. This is the fundamental, grinding, tectonic machinery of human reality. It is the invisible ink in which every contract of your life is written. It is the silent, sacred slaughter that happens in every classroom, every boardroom, every bedroom, every single day. And you? You are both the priest and the sacrifice. The cost isn't what you think it is. The cost isn't a missed promotion. The cost isn't a child who gets a C instead of an A. The cost isn't a failed relationship. Those are merely the symptoms, the tremors on the surface. The true cost is the slow, methodical murder of what could have been. The true cost is the ghost of the person you were meant to be, screaming in a soundproof room inside your own heart. It is the annihilation of potential, performed not by some cruel external tyrant, but by the gentle, loving, poisonous pity in a mother's eyes. By the pragmatic, well-meaning, soul-caging doubt in a father's voice. By the cautious, risk-averse, dream-killing sigh of a mentor. And now, by you, yes you, you have learned the trick. You have mastered the craft. You volunteer for the role of the puppeteer because it feels safer than being the puppet. You pull the strings on your children, your lovers, your employees, whispering your own limitations into their bones until they mistake your fear for their reality. You are a carrier of a psychic disease, and you call it giving advice. You call it being realistic. You are a plague bearer, and you call yourself a realist. I once spoke of the shadow, the great, untamed wilderness within, the repository of all that you deny, all that you repress, all that you fear and despise in yourself, the snarling, bestial, glorious darkness that holds the other half of your strength. And what have you done with this concept? You have domesticated it. You have turned it into a self-help platitude. Embrace your shadow, you chirp, as if it were a stray kitten and not a ravenous wolf. You think it is about admitting you get angry in traffic, or that you are sometimes jealous of your neighbor's lawn. You have no idea what you are dealing with. The Rosenthal Effect is your shadow made manifest and projected onto the world. It is the weaponization of your own repressed inadequacy. When you look at your child and think, he's not very bright, I should lower my expectations so he isn't disappointed, you are not being kind. You are not being pragmatic. You are taking the part of you that feels stupid, the part you have locked away and refused to confront, and you are clothing your child in its rotting flesh. You are forcing him to live out the failure you cannot bear to acknowledge in yourself. You are performing a ritual of psychic transference, a black magic so common, so mundane, you do it over your morning coffee. What I call the integration of the shadow, a perilous, lifelong, alchemical task of wrestling with your own demons, you now call setting boundaries or managing expectations. A comforting lie sold as a virtue. You claim you want authenticity, yet you spend your life curating a world of diminished people to make your own carefully constructed persona feel safe. You build a kingdom of the half-alive and call it a community. You say you want connection. You say you want love. I see you. I see you swiping through faces on your little black mirrors, your glowing rectangles of despair. I hear your pathetic demands whispered in the dark corners of the internet. A little note slides across my desk, a plea from the modern soul. It says, "In dating today, leave out the ancient stories. The man of today should learn something." Learn what? You want to learn? You don't want to learn. You want a cheat code. You want a 5-step formula to bypass the terrifying, sacred chaos of human connection. You want to skip the archetypes, the myths, the ancient stories that are the very blueprint of your soul, because they demand sacrifice. They demand that you look into the abyss of another and the abyss of yourself. Instead, you apply the Rosenthal Effect as a dating strategy. You decide on the first glance, the first line of text, what this person is. He's an alpha. She's damaged. He's not ambitious enough. She's too much. And with that label, you have already begun the surgery. You snip and you tuck. You project your expectation onto them like a film, and then you have the audacity to be disappointed when they flicker and distort, unable to bear the weight of the role you have assigned them. You don't want a partner. You want a supporting actor for the mediocre play of your own life. You refuse the ancient wisdom, the deep patterns, because it is difficult. And so you choose the shallow poison, the quick judgment, because it is easy. You are starving, and you are demanding a menu instead of learning how to hunt. You are a coward, and you call it having standards. This is the great test of your age. The constant, unrelenting, brutal trial. Every interaction you have is a crucible. The Rosenthal Effect is not a misfortune that befalls you. It is the universe holding up a mirror to the state of your own soul. Your latest collapse? That business venture that imploded? That friendship that turned to ash in your mouth? That lover who became a stranger overnight? Do you truly believe that was bad luck? Do you honestly think that was some random cruelty of the cosmos? No, it was a revelation. It was the inevitable harvest of the seeds you planted with your gaze. You looked at your partner and saw a project to be fixed, and so they broke. You looked at your employee and saw incompetence, and so they fumbled. You looked at your dream and saw an impossibility, and so it dissolved. These are not failures. These are receipts. They are the perfectly balanced, karmically just consequences of the expectations you broadcasted into the world. The world is a psychic resonance chamber. It does not give you what you want. It gives you what you are. And what you are is what you expect, deep down in the silent, screaming core of your being. You believe you are a victim of circumstance. But what if every circumstance is a confession? What if every slammed door, every unanswered call, every betrayal is simply the world's echo of your own inner verdict? You have judged the world as hostile, as untrustworthy, as disappointing. And the world, ever obedient, has simply agreed with you. It has molded itself to the contours of your own inner wasteland. You are not trapped in a prison. You are the architect, the warden, and the sole inmate of a prison of your own design. The bars are forged from your realistic expectations. The walls are mortared with your pragmatic doubts. And the lock on the door? The lock is your steadfast refusal to believe you hold the key. Your suffering is not a tragedy. It is a tautology. It is the proof of your own damning thesis about reality. You get the world you expect, and then you use that world as evidence to justify your expectations. A perfect, closed loop of self-inflicted misery. A snake eating its own tail for eternity. And you call this life. When I spoke of individuation, of becoming whole, I was not offering a path to happiness. I was offering a path to reality. I was forging a blade sharp enough to cut the strings of the puppet master, a blade sharp enough to carve your own name into the fabric of existence. And that blade is the ruthless, terrifying, liberating act of withdrawing your projections. This is the alchemy. This is the only survival gear you will ever need in the wasteland you have created. It is not about thinking positive. That is the most insidious lie of all, a cheap coat of paint on a rotten structure. Positive thinking is just another form of expectation, a demand you place upon the world to conform to your wishes. It is the tyranny of the light, which inevitably summons an even greater darkness. No, the work is not to project a better film onto the screen of the other. The work is to turn the projector off. The work is to stand before another human being, your child, your enemy, your lover, and to find the courage to see them not as a vessel for your hopes or a receptacle for your fears, but as a sovereign mystery, an undrawable map, a universe unto themselves, burning with their own light and wrestling with their own shadows. The work is to feel the familiar, comfortable urge to label them, to predict them, to know them, and to consciously, deliberately refuse. It is to say, I do not know who you are. I do not know what you will become. And I will not poison your becoming with the contaminated water of my own past. This requires a courage you have not yet imagined. It requires you to sit in the terrifying uncertainty of the present moment without the crutch of prediction. It requires you to absorb the anxiety of the unknown instead of outsourcing it onto others. When I said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate, I was giving you the master key. Your fate is the sum total of the unconscious expectations you have mistaken for objective reality. To make it conscious is to see the string, to see the whisper, to catch yourself in the act of psychic murder. It begins with one question, asked over and over until it becomes the rhythm of your own heart. Is this my truth or is this theirs? Is this fear I feel in their presence mine, or is it a fear I am placing upon them? Is this hope I have for them a recognition of their potential, or is it a demand that they live the life I was too cowardly to live myself? This is the fire of the alchemist. It burns. It strips away everything you thought you were. It leaves you naked and trembling in the face of the real. But what rises from those ashes is not a puppet. It is a person. Stop. Stop what you are doing. Stop reading these words as a passive observer. Stop nodding along as if this is some interesting intellectual exercise. The next time you look at another human being, I do not care if it is your lover across the dinner table, your child across the room, your boss across a video call, or your own haunted face in the mirror, I command you to do one thing. See the God you are trying to kill. See the infinite, terrifying, glorious potential you are actively, methodically strangling with the fine, silken, invisible wire of your expectation. Feel the physical sensation of that wire spooling out from your gut, from your mind, from your heart, and wrapping around their soul. See the vibrant colors of their possible futures turning gray under the shadow of your gaze. Hold that image. Do not flinch. Do not look away. Let the absolute horror of what you are doing, what has been done to you, what you do to yourself every single moment of every single day, wash over you. Let it drown you. This is not a metaphor. This is a physiological command. Feel the sacrilege in your own bones. That feeling, that sickening, gut-wrenching, soul-shattering recognition, that is the beginning of your freedom. Everything else is just a more comfortable cage. Continue this charade, and the epitaph I foresaw becomes yours. You will live and die as a ghost, a hollow echo in a world you were meant to command. You will be a footnote in someone else's story, a background character whose only purpose was to prove the protagonist's thesis. You will mistake the faint warmth of the puppet theater for the fire of the sun. You will die with a stranger's name on your lips because you never learned your own. Here lies a volunteer slave who mistook his chains for comfort and called his prison home. The tragedy is not that you will be forgotten. The tragedy is that there was never anyone there to remember in the first place. So here is your first and only task, your first act of rebellion against the tyranny of the whisper. Before this screen in front of you goes dark, before you distract yourself with the next dose of digital anesthetic, I want you to perform a single, terrifying act of internal warfare. Take a name, just one. Someone in your life you have judged, someone you have placed on a pedestal of impossible perfection, or cast into a pit of irredeemable failure. Your child, your parent, your partner, your rival. Write their name on a piece of paper. Now, beneath it, write the single, core expectation you hold for them. The verdict, the final judgment you have quietly passed. He will never amount to anything. She is the only one who can save me. He will always be weak. She will inevitably betray me. Write the brutal, honest truth of the script you have given them. Then, take your pen, and with all the force you can muster, cross out their name. And in its place, write your own. Read the verdict. Read the prophecy. Read the curse you have been casting on yourself by projecting it onto them. Let the words hang in the air. Let the searing, unbearable shame of it burn through your defenses. Let it poison your illusions. That is your first rebellion. That is the first time you will have chosen to feel the weight of your own soul, instead of forcing someone else to carry it for you. Do it now, or remain a puppet forever. The choice was always yours. You just never had the courage to look at the strings.